I have sketched down a couple of trees over here so I get the perspective of the rest of the painting. These are large trees. This cedar must be a very small cedar, but I'm going to make him taller too, because I'm bringing you up right up to the road so you feel like you can step into the painting. So these little cedar trees will only build on that to make a larger one. That is after we decide about the sky. So here I go again. I'm going to build upon the sky here. This cloud. Of course, we said before, it's thicker. It's built up thicker in the middle. Then as it goes off and drifts off to the side, then it has it's thinner and breaks away. So now we're introducing a little bit of color. All of the colors in the painting will be reflected one to the other. So my white, I didn't get pure white out for this. I got out some white with the character color that was left over from before. But let's stop and think. The light is coming from our left. The shadow side will be on our right. So I think it's time to establish something. There will be a shadow color, blue tinted, but grayed down. So I'm just mixing all the paint together here and come up with a shaded blue color, which is a muted color of blue. And it's a little bit dark, so all I have to do is add a little white in it. Because we could make this into a storm cloud, but right now we're in the mood of just having a nice, soft, fluffy cloud on a hot summer's day. So over here, after I see we've softened the colors a little bit, I'm going to put the shadow side into some of these clouds. This is where we have to decide. There are clouds within the clouds. And we've already established that the sun sitting over our shoulder is casting some beautiful colors in this painting. Sometimes we go back in and break up the shapes we've started, or go back over a color, not that crazy about. And I'll do a little bit of this work and then I'll stand back and look at it. And then I'll probably get the brush out to finalize some of these shapes. Okay, this gives us a start though to kind of have a little bit of this introduced into the painting. Shadow colors. I'm going right. I'm going to ignore those trees. The reason I need my trees in there so I can kind of finally get the perspective together on this painting. Excuse my hand being in your way. So now I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to get a soft brush. I think will give some soft effects. It's a soft bristle brush, but I think we can use it. And there we go again. Getting a little bit too dark. All I have to do is come back in with the white Smudge it around a little bit. You just never know what shape you're going to come up with when you're playing with paint. And it's best not to even make up your mind too much. But we do have to organize our thoughts. Let me step back and look at it now and see how that looks. Okay, not too bad. I still may go back and lighten these blues in a minute, but the shape of the shadows, pretty pleasing. So I'm going to take and do the kind of the dry brush method as we did before, using the blue behind this dry blue to allow us to make some shapes around this cloud and make those clouds look so thin and wispy as they're breaking off. When I get through, you're going to see how much prettier this is whenever you soften the edges of your clouds. Most new students, they get a cloud and then they make another cloud that looks just like it sitting right beside it. Then very often there's a third or fourth, and they're always exactly the same. I don't know, because I think as we get in the habit of doing something, we're not looking at it, and that's when we need to step back and look and see if we're doing it, see if we're getting it right. So that's what I try to do, is step back from my paintings. Now I'm going to lay it on the side and do a little scrubbing around to get some more shapes. Try different ways of holding your brush and see what effects you can get. And when I get through playing around with these shades of different colors of shadows, then I'm going to hit the highlights of white. And you see some beautiful clouds emerging from this. I'm just softening the colors I put in there. Wipe the brush off occasionally, go back with the same brush, basically dry brush, and work that a little bit. Not every stroke is a genius stroke. Very often, if we admit it, we have corrected many, many things in a lot of our paintings. If we'd left them, we would never like that painting. So we have to kind of evaluate ourselves, critique ourselves. Don't be unkind, but be honest with yourself. Does that make sense, what you see? Does it look natural? Is it a pretty shape? Have I seen this in nature? So I'm going to work now in some white, and this will be towards the left side of each little area. Sometimes it just looks like there are several clouds all clumped up together. I have too much pink in there. That's that ultramarine blue that I had introduced earlier. So basically you're going to see more shadow on the right side than you do on the left, because this is one, in total this is one object. And so the right side and the bottom of it will be shaded. So I'll give you alternative ways to make these shapes. So I'm going to stand back and look at this while I send a text out on my phone. it might be important that I answer my daughter. So we have to keep it with family even while we're playing. So while we're talking, when I'm thinking about this painting, I'm looking and standing back and looking at it. I want to know what kind of a mood, what kind of colors. You want to have more than like one or two colors in a painting, because when they go to hang that on their wall, they want it to match something in their room. So they're not just looking at the scenery, but they're looking at the colors. Sometimes I think it's the predominating decision is the colors. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to think about this. I think that maybe we can, knowing that we're going to put these trees in here, and I'll put some foliage on them. Talk to her for me. Tell her I've sent her a text. I'll text her. Tell her I text her. Okay.
She said she told you.
Right now, I've got to reevaluate what I'm doing, and as I keep getting a phone call from family members, I'm still trying to finish this, and I will. I apologize. So I'm going to go back into this and add a little bit more of the, see the blues over here? I think that's just beautiful. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, but I'm leaving some of those blues. If you'll notice, there's a little bit of green you can see in there. Well, you see green in the background, and so of course those colors will be reflected and picked up by the lighter colors like the white. Those are what we call reflected colors. So we'll just kind of work with this back in here, even though I know that tree is going to cover a lot of this. You'll be able to see between the limbs and the leaves, and you'll be able to see that shapes, and so I want that to look interesting back in here, not look odd. So I'm going to pick up some white and keep working with this a little bit. And I'm just about through with the clouds, but then I'm going to, like I said, I'll make some of them pop out. They look very pretty. So make sure that when you're painting, you have plenty of white and plenty of yellow. If you're going to lighten the color, those are the only two colors you have to choose from. Because red and blue are dark colors. Okay. I'll try to pick up some real clean white. Can't find it, I'll have to get some more out of the container. And put some real cool shapes in here. I don't know, I can tell already that this is still a little bit wet from my third time I've gone back in here to play with this cloud. So I'm going to let this dry in the background some more. After I add a little bit more shadows on the base of this and bring this together, then I will let the clouds dry. And let's see, right now, see we have this going on down here. I'm mixing just a little bit of brown in that blue so it won't be too blue. We want it to have a nice shady color at the base of the cloud. And you see these little, look like accidental smudges on the bottom of the cloud. They are, but then they become other little clouds that are drifting in there. One more thing that I haven't mentioned. The clouds at the horizon are further away because this in the distance. And if it were the same size as this one, they would be a lot smaller anyway. So we're just going to add some clouds drifting, and it's not going to be a big ordeal here because there's just a lot of blue in there. So I choose to go in and smudge in a little bit more small clouds. Let them drift down through here. They almost disappear, but they're in the background, see? You can see how this works out as I go, and I'll add a little bit more to this. And the closer I get to the horizon back there, they'll get even smaller. So we're just going to drift some of these little clouds through here. Sometimes you can get it right with a brush, but I have my habit of doing my little touch-ups, and it works for me. So now we did not want to stop this cloud that I had started. Did not want to stop it at the tree, because it would look like the cloud is stuck on the tree. We do it, but go over the top of it, and then we'll, when we paint the tree, puts it back in place again. Need a few more little clouds in here. Quickly throwing in. That's pretty blue back in there, pretty dark. For right now, this is all I'm going to do with the sky. So I'm going to stand back and look at it and see if I can decide. Yes, okay, this is the background, middle ground, and foreground. This tree has to double in size, basically, because it could be a young tree, but we're going to make them larger anyway. And decide what to put over here in this side, in this corner. And a lot of my paintings, I'm putting some wildlife, so I may do that here. After I finish it, I will look at it and see what it needs. My last one, I put a raccoon in it, and the next one, I have a large mural I'm going to put a bobtail cat in. I don't think we have enough room to put a lot of large animals. We could actually, in May, put a deer walking across that road. I don't know what I'll be in the mood to do. Let us wait and see. So I'll finish this painting and show it as a finished painting. And if I add something else, then I will just take a snapshot of it and come back and show you what I've done. I'm trying to limit my times of my class videos to somewhere around an hour or less. And that's not easy to do when you have so much and you're thinking about so many things you want to do. So now I have some different colors down here that I need to introduce. This little small brush, just kind of make it more interesting. Time to get some yellow out. You'll use a lot of yellow and a lot of white when you're painting, because you have to lighten these colors up. They kind of come out of the container pretty strong. There we are. We don't want to be wasteful, so I don't put a whole lot at one time, but we need more. I will probably use this paint on the next painting. I'm starting a portrait this afternoon as soon as I get through with this one. But I will only post the snapshots as I go, because it's just a lot easier for me. And this is for my family, the portrait will be, so I need to concentrate and not be worrying about the video taking. Now right in here, notice I'm lightening the colors. If you'll lighten the greens as you come forward, so there's a little bit of, there's always something growing. I don't care, even if it's out in the desert, there'll be some cactus or there'll be something growing. So we have we're showing a little bit of greenery here. I'm not trying to identify what it is. So we have some in the background, so we sure need to add some in the foreground. You probably can see me mixing if I have this positioned right. It doesn't take long to mix a little bit of paint up. I don't mix up a lot of one color because I will change my mind undoubtedly before it's through, and I will have different shades that I will need, so I just mix them as I go. Still need lighter colors. I think I still need right in here we'll put just some real nice brighter green. We'll just apply that, and then we'll decide later how we're going to use this color. But it just needs it. If you notice now, it comes forward, it comes at you. What's in the background goes towards the back. I think this is the right time now to bring out the cedar tree, which I thought was going to be I think that looked pretty large. But see, look how big I made the road. So you have to imagine if you had a truck or car going down through here, it'd be pretty large, wouldn't it? So these trees will have to be much larger. A cedar tree, like we work with the Christmas trees. Most people that I know have gone out in the woods and chose a tree, cut it, and brought it home. And so it's important that we would go through and try to pick up the right one, and we'd get home with a flat side. Then we'd be kind of upset with ourselves, or we'd blame it on someone else that is not rounded out pretty. Sometimes we'd go back and again and look for another tree. See, I'm kind of ignoring what my previous plan was on this one and just adding some more limbs and larger limbs. So now it's a little taller, and by scale and by what we see around it, it looks better. Even though some of the limbs don't look right, we'll go back and change them. Have fun with your art. Don't be so critical and so hard on yourself. You say, oh, I just ruined that. No. There's always a way to correct or change. We don't call them mistakes. We call them opportunities, because then it gives us an opportunity to change our mind. We drop paint on their canvas, or we do kind of make a mess. We can go back and work on it again. Now, that's more appropriate. I will enlarge this tree a little bit more too. And then I'll go back and put limbs and some leaves on these trees. I think I'll make these into little oak trees over here. I'm more familiar with them than I am most anything else. So, oak and cedar trees. You do not have to identify what you put into a painting. Very often, somebody will say, well, what kind of tree is that? And I will say, what does it look like? And they tell me what they think it is. And I say, yep, that's what it is. Then everybody's happy. That's not being dishonest. It's just being compromising, complimenting, I meant to say, your friends what they like to see. If that's what they want to see, fine. If it's their painting, they can color it anything they want to. They can say that tree is a bulldog tree. They can say it's an oak tree or a mesquite tree. A long time ago, decided to forget worrying about to identifying all the trees in the forest, because back in the background, for one thing, you sure don't know what kind they are. They're far in the distance. It's not important we even think about that. I'm going to pick out an area in here somewhere to grow another tree that looks like it's a little plain in the background. So we're going to enlarge some of those trees. As I go, I'll go ahead and put the dark and the light side in. And this one over here, that looks like a cedar tree. So let's just go ahead and make it into a cedar tree, because it's kind of pointed at the top. So now I'm thinking cedar tree for that one. We'll go ahead and make that decision now, so I know what shape to make him. So we'll put the dark in. We'll hit it with a couple of highlights and leave that little tree alone. But now I see what's wrong with that tree. It's too flat right in here. So we'll just add a little bit of detail. And on the left side, the cedar tree is not going to be very yellowish. It'll still be dark, but we can lighten it a little bit with the yellow. And there we have a happy cedar tree. Unless someone decides to carry him home, and maybe he will still be a happy cedar tree, because he has a place to be and a place to be entertaining during Christmas. So now we have made a few decisions today. I approach how to plant a tree differently sometimes, because I really just don't want them to look alike, not too alike. Even if they're cedar trees, some are wider and fatter at the bottom, and some are kind of sparse and leaning, and skinny looking. Maybe they didn't grow just right. So we're just going to add a little more dark green along here. And this dark blue. So it'll stand out a little bit better. Okay, I think that's enough for him right now. So we put the little hill in the background, which practically just disappears because of everything else we put in here, but that's okay. We needed this area a little bit higher than the left side because skyline will be different shapes. I'm going to take a little bit of green and kind of try to make that look a little more interesting back in there where that hill is, where that plateau is. Actually, I'm going to make it a little higher so they'll know what it is, but I'm going to kind of scrub it into the background, leave it kind of a blue-green. And here would be then the edge of that plateau would have a few little trees, maybe a little bit lighter color. Got to add some light on that. And when this all gets dry, I'll go back in here and pop in some color so you'll know which is tree that's in here and what is in the background. Random colors, random background. And then we kind of do a little smudging with a wiped out brush and let this have a soft disappearing act in the background, because it's so far back there we cannot possibly see all the detail. So now this is up higher than that is, and it just makes it more interesting. Don't, like I said before, just don't repeat the same thing all over the painting, because it just looks better if you kind of throw in something they don't expect, as something they don't expect. So there's another tree. I didn't expect that one to grow there, but all of a sudden it looked like it needed it. To be honest with you, all the sky really needs is a good clean white, and to make the center of the cloud thicker. And that's all I'm going to do to the cloud. And finish up the two trees and put a little detail down here, some cactus. Then I will be essentially through with this. I'm going to add some white to my little palette, and these are lids that I saved. I said, you know, I might need them for something. I like them. I like to use them. They're small. I can pick them up in my hand if I want to and make it more convenient to work with. So now I'm going to use the brush that looks like has a little blue in it, but that's okay. I don't want to pick up one that's got green in it or brown because we don't want to mess up these colors. I'm going straight into the white, and in a few places I'm going to add some edges on these clouds. And this can go on and on and on. You can add tops, little puffy cloud areas. As it gets dry, you can go back in and add it wherever you think it needs to be. Now these two, see, were almost the same shape. There's two shadow areas, so I'm breaking it up. Add some clean white in here. Make the top of that cloud show up a little bit better. And right in here. And right in here, just kind of put some drifting clouds off in here. And go back over some of this. It's not white enough. And in here, you can actually use your regular strokes just to lay down and have it nice, a pretty white color. So the thickest part of this cloud is in the center, and this other is kind of drifted off. Also, that cloud's going to be a little bit heavy across the bottom where it's built up. So right above the shaded area is where the cloud's going to start showing himself, where the light is hitting it. Remember, the light source is from the left. So that's what we're trying to do right in here. Create an area that you can tell where the light source is coming from. I like this in here, so I'm not going to do much to it. See, I'm adding just a little more paint. It looks like it's a little bit too thin. You can't see it very well. I want you to be able to see different shapes in this cloud. Like I said, a cloud is one of the first things I wanted to learn how to paint. I would take my little camera outside and take pictures after pictures, many different pictures of the clouds. Now I can go into the internet and type in clouds. You've got lots and lots of clouds, different, give you different ideas. You can take a picture and it gives you an idea, but then you put it down and do your own thing. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not referring to my picture at all. It may not even look that much like. Oh my goodness, there's my little chihuahua. She apparently sees the mailman out there. There's a little fellow. She's a little girl, but she's got a loud voice and she gets excited. I hope you can see this. I do my own filming because I'm usually by myself when I get in the mood to paint. And I will have my son-in-law to do some, and my daughter to help me do some filming at some point, so they get some different angles and zoom in. Okay, so now this cloud is getting a little thicker right down through the middle here, just like it did over in this area. So I can kind of stop playing with this. Maybe I can stop and then work on those trees. Now, though, of course, I have the wet clouds that are over the trees. So I may have to let that area get dry before I can finish the top of the trees. But I do have an area that I can work on right now, and that is the road and some cactus down in here, but the road for sure I know is dry. So I'm going to lighten up, I'm going to lighten up the brown. We're going to put yellow and red and blue together and make a real nice, it's going to be kind of a golden brown. So it has some pretty colors in here. Primary colors, that's where mixing those colors is what I like to do. That's a baby girl you hear. Excuse me a minute, I must check and see if there's someone at the door. No, they just saw a squirrel in the backyard. We love our pets here, and I hope it's not annoying you. Not everybody has that much patience with their pets. I had some kind of orangey fall colors back in there, and I'm adding the yellow. Still brown, but we want to break that up and have it look a little more interesting. And there's fade out in the back where the colors are not that important back here. Now let's reestablish something so you will know what I'm doing. Over here is the side the road, and so it's eroded and it has some shadows where the edge is. Down in here is the road, which has two ruts where everybody seems to be driving in the same area so that they don't slide out of the road and mess up. So right now we're going to allow this part of the land to kind of drift down. But right in here I wanted to show this washed out area. So that's why I did that. And when I get this painted in this area over here, I'll go back and put a lot of dark details and light details in there. For instance, even though that's on the shadow side of that area, it will show a few things, a few areas in here that we'll see how that's going to look. So we need to get back a little bit more of a brown color. So I have to get a little bit more blue mixed in here, and with the yellow and the red. So it looks more of a tan color. That's what I'm coming up with right now, kind of a tan color. Okay, now that's better. So we're going to add it along in here. It's not so strong as I'd started out with it, but I'll use all these colors in this painting. Now these trees will cast shadows, but between the shadows the light will be streaming right down through here. Okay. Here we're going to have kind of a pinkish brown. So we have all kinds of minerals and different things in the ground. There are different colors, and you'll notice when you start painting, when you go outside, you will really start picking up on the different colors of nature. It's beautiful outside. Very, very pretty. So I'm lightening up. I don't need that many shadow colors in this painting because I don't have a lot of trees back in there. Let you know that tree starts back in here. Gives them a place to stand. And also on this one, I'll lighten this color up right in here, so that you know where he's standing. Okay. We'll look at the detailing of the grass and everything else later. Right above the dark shadows will be the lightest part of the color of that area. So once again, I pick up the white, and we'll get into kind of the pinker brown, beigey brown, and I've mixed this up with one brush, but I'm going to pick up a smaller one right now so I have more control. So this will give me a little more control of what I'm going to be doing here. If I were not videotaping this, I'd probably have that painting right down in my lap and getting these details in, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I am not left-handed, but I'm going to become left-handed. So at least for one day, to be able to get this in it so it doesn't come into the camera line. So I'm just going to kind of play this in a minute, but right now I'm showing you that's the edge where the ruts are. So you can take the same brush, wipe it out, or a different brush, which is what I'm going to do, is get something I can scrub with. And use more of a bristle brush. It's a little bit stiffer to see there how you kind of just mush it in and let it blend with the colors around it. I see too much green in that, so I will pick up a little more color here. Can you tell now that the details coming towards you are more, the lighter is lighter and the darker is darker? There's more contrast in everything that comes right before you as you look into the painting. Don't want to get too solid with any color, just to, as I said before, random colors in random places. The advantage of a bristle brush is that you can work it more than you can a soft brush. You can control that a little bit more. Move it around. Now I will stand back and see if I've changed it too much, or maybe it's about right. For the sake of argument, I'm going to leave it pretty much like it is. But this cannot possibly be a real smooth road, so it's going to have kind of little rocks and pits in it, and other interesting items that you will see. So I'm going back to my three primary colors again until I get just the right color for a dark brown. Looks too green, so I need more red. And I'll come up with a nice color for maybe some rocks or twigs or whatever's going to be in this road. So we're just going to kind of put a little character in there, and because it's not going to be a clean little highway, it's a country road, and it's going to have shadows and holes, places it's going to have dips in it. Let's see, in golf you call it a divot. Am I wrong or am I right? I'm not a golfer, but I know they call it something. So when they're golfing and they make a little dip and a mark in the ground, they have to level it off, straighten it up, so the next golfer is not disadvantaged by the texture of the ground. So see, we're just going to kind of let that be. Not, it doesn't matter what that is. I can imagine some people saying one thing and somebody saying something else. Somebody says bear tracks going across there, and someone else will say, "Oh, it's rocks," and someone else will say it's just a hole in the ground. So right now we'll see what it looks like as we wander through here and work with a little bit more detail. I like to put a little fence with barbed wire on it. Sometimes just a partial one, like an old one's been abandoned, and do that in the foreground if the painting doesn't have enough interest in it. So we'll see. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Now what you gotta do is, since we do have a little bit of grass in here, I'm going to just kind of introduce some grass shapes. Weeds or whatever that can grow up here if they're in that area. And I'll find another brush after a while and make some more grass a little bit different than this. Okay, I think it needs to dry for a while, and I can come back and finish it up, possibly today. Thank you, and I'll see you later.